Welcome back to the SPL here in Europe. Finch here, joined by Taco. And forgive me if I'm still a little bit back in that last set. I mean, wow, a tough loss for Energy, but what an excellent performance from Dignitas.
I don't think we could have asked for a better set, I think, though, from both of these two teams. That's probably, I mean, it's only the first week of the fall split, and we got a set that back and forth.
Wow.
And between two European powerhouses, to be completely fair to both of them. And it wasn't even an instance of Energy playing poorly by any means. I know that the players themselves probably don't feel the greatest right now, but in all honesty, I think the Energy played really well. Dignitas just did better.
Yeah, you and I were just talking about this, before we went live. That I mean, they both played it very, very well. Like maybe some small mistakes here or there that you can expect a team to just make. So certainly nothing I feel like for anyone to feel bad about. Just excellent Smite that I'm always happy to get a chance to watch. But again, that was game one. Game two has all the chances to be just as exciting. Rival up against Obey, and Rival already have to be riding high, I'm feeling, Taco, as they've already beaten Energy.
Rival taking the first blood, in fact,
right.
of Europe with that setup against Energy. But I think that now they just want to try and keep that momentum going. They want to make sure that consistency is still intact here for the online portion. And the best way to get any sort of fall split started is to win both of your opening week sets.
And you're not going to hear me, again, trying to say Baron's not good. Did you see what Variety did to keep them in that game? I mean, that was absolutely nuts. But it does seem like Rival seem to have an answer to him, at least in their gameplay strategy. They've done a good job kind of prioritizing him and focusing him out, whether it was in support or in solo, at least up against Energy. That's just one set, but they did seem comfortable against it. So for me, I want to watch these picks and bans to see, do they value it for themselves, or do they still feel like they can beat it?
I just want to see what Obey does in general, because we saw their set up against SK, and that's just another thing entirely. I think that Obey, it was a really important victory for them, but this is the one that's really going to make them stand out, because everyone knows that Rival is heavily regarded as one of the top teams in Europe currently. And so with that in mind, if Obey can actually manage to get what I think would be considered an upset victory here over Rival, that would really shake things up for the fall split.
No, with the way that Season 5 is going, it would be more than fair to say an Obey victory here. I think it would be an upset for them. But that's the thing. Obey has been historically one of those pillars here in Europe, so we expect them to be able to beat Rival, but it just hasn't been that way here in Season 5. This is that litmus test for them, right? This is their chance to sort of show, yes, we are up in there with that top 3, top 4 conversation, rather than just the Energy, Dignitas, Rival that we've been seeing.
And keep in mind also that Obey have really been trying to flex pretty deep within those God pulls lately. We've been seeing a lot of different shakeups within this team as a whole, and I'm almost curious as to whether or not they have anything that they're going to try and actually entertain this team fighting notion with Rival on, because both sides, I think it goes without saying, they love having those 5-on-5 brawl outs, but I think that Obey, for the most part, tends to centralize a little bit more around PrettyPriMe, as opposed to Rival, who I think focuses a little bit more so on Deathwalker and Ice.
Deathwalker and Ice certainly play well. Let's see if they will indeed get their picks prioritized in the picks and bans. Rival up against Obey. Game 1 about to come at you here now, and Rival going to be the first pick as well. So if they do prioritize this Baron, this could certainly be a chance for it to see. I also curious, where are we going to see Naja, Freyo, Kurnos? Where are those, or not Kurnos, but Chernobog? Where are those picks going to be going here in the picks and bans process? When your first pick, you can kind of bully second a bit.
You can bully the second a bit, but Rival, they don't even want to risk having to pick Freya for themselves. Just no can do this time around
get that out
with the Valkyrie. None of that nonsense going to be happening, and the same could be said for Obey there as they take away the Naja. Reasonably so. iCeicebaby, I highly doubt that is someone you want to try and handle if he's piloting the Naja.
Yeah, Naja buffs almost feel like iCeicebaby buffs in a way, right? Because he's just that strong on Naja, so you got to get that out of his hands, and that's been the call here from Obey. Now Rival aren't going to ban away against this Baron, so not so much that they feel super confident against it. They definitely respect that this can be a strong pick. They're going to ban it. Obey going to ban Chernobog. So that means a lot of the really strong picks are taken, but Athena's still out there.
Athena is still out there, but not for long, Finch, because that's an immediate pickup for Rival any day of the week. I know that a lot of teams have really been wanting to take this Baron for themselves, but in a sense, Athena has basically the same amount of control that you would want out of your Baron, except she might be a little bit more tanky and has the whole Defender of Olympus thing going for her, so
which is still pretty good.
That's usually a plus.
That's still pretty good, right? Yeah, but I agree with you. It's kind of like a taunt, except it's up really often for Athena, right? Kind of like being able to pull him into the coffin, so Kalis very likely will be the one that gets to pilot that, as Obey are going to select the Rom and the Artio. We have not seen a whole lot of Artio, I feel like, very recently, but Obey prioritizing it early on in the draft.
I actually really like this Artio pickup because I think that one thing a lot of teams don't really pay as much mind to in competitive play is the Athena dash taunt capabilities. I know that typically people who are at an above average level in Smite, they know you don't always have to dash and then taunt on Athena. You can normally just raw taunt immediately, but she still needs to try and make that escape after the fact in case that taunt doesn't go in her favor, and Artio, I think, could really prevent some of that.
And the cripple field could certainly prove to be an annoyance for this Athena here in this game. But Rival, with their next two picks, they're locking in Hou-Yi, Odin. That's a pretty classic combination. They got the big ring and then Hou-Yi for the dunk with that Sunbreaker ultimate. You definitely don't want to stand inside those two circles, and it can kind of cause some problems for Artio, who doesn't have the easiest time getting out.
Now, Artio especially, I think, could really suffer from this, but I'm mostly taking notes at Rama over there. Ataraxia could be in some hot water if this Odin is allowed to run rampant on the map.
That could certainly cause some problems for him. Chulainn gonna come in next for Obey there, Taco. I love this pick, especially over there in the solo lane, so likely we'll get to see Xaliea, the one piloting this pick. But now we're in that second round of bans. Junglers is going to be the target here from Rival. They're going to take away the Surket and the Unbots, whereas Obey still kind of spreading it out a bit, getting rid of Fafnir and the Soul.
Janus also going to be taken there for Obey, so they're not exactly trying to immediately dodge that initial ring. I don't feel
that
Janus,
either.
It depends on how the placement goes for the cage, of course, because Janus, if he's close to a wall, can always try to portal himself out of it, sometimes even portaling himself inside of the cage, although I'm not sure how effective that's going to be when you have to worry about a Hou-Yi ultimate dropping down on top of you as well. But so much AoE and space control focus out of Rival's composition. I think that they're probably going to be prioritizing those objective team fights very heavily, and for good reason. Just their draft favors it so much.
I absolutely have the opportunity to go for that. I like this mobility coming out from the Amaterasu, the sustain coming out from the Ra that Obey won't quite be able to match as well. Rival could certainly have a strong opportunity there, and the Susano is going to come in for Obey. But which one of these drafts have won you all over there at home? Who do you think is going to win this game? Go ahead and vote for us now in that mixer poll and give us your thoughts. What about you, Taco? You're paid for this. Who are you going to pick here early on?
In all honesty, I would have to give a slight favoring towards Rival right now, simply because I feel like their execution is a little bit easier to pull off. Obey, they've got some really nice components going for them. I like the spread of their early to late game damage from their carries. I think that they didn't really they didn't double down on like losing side lane, so even though they don't have necessarily really strong clear from Janus in mid right away, they're going to be able to make up for that because you've got Chulainn in solo. He usually fares pretty well, and Ram, of course, level 1, no problem at all with those astral arrows. It's just that with every member being able to get caught inside of that cage, I feel like that's going to be their downfall.
And certainly, I feel like it's going to be a big problem for him. And with the way the picks went, I got to think that might even be an Odin in the jungle, so you have to deal with it early on. Plus Wlfy on that Ra. It's just problems all over the place, but we'll see if Obey will indeed be able to handle it or if Rival will come away with the win. Let's get it over there to the casters for game 1.
Of course Odin is going into the jungle. Tom and Tolly on the cast for you guys today as we look at Rival versus Alliance, or Obey Alliance, excuse me. But iceicebaby, we've gotten a chance to watch his Naja wreak havoc across the league so far, because Naja is in style. But Tolly, the Odin, this is also classic Ice.
It's something he ran up against enemy at Season 4 Worlds to a great extent, I would say, in terms of farming capabilities, but not really so much in the PvP aspect. Not sure if that was accidental, about picking up the purple buff.
Yep, we'll take a look at that one. Well, it certainly seems where we know our fans are. Rival is going to tilt this one 77%. I think that Rival are going to be the team to take home the W today. We'll see how this one winds up, but they are definitely the top card.
Well, when you're the spring champions, when you finish second place at the summer, second place at Worlds, where Obey Alliance has yet to make a land in Season 5, it's no surprise that the numbers are swinging to the black and purple.
These guys have also really, they're fan favorites. And touching on what you were saying before, maybe Vote didn't mean to pick up the purple. It doesn't matter because they successfully find the purple invade as well. And Kala's going to pick up some of that armor shred. Everybody's got a buff.
It feels good if you're a member of Team Rival to start this one off. No kills, but just having that edge and lane pressure to get a buff invade could set yourself up later down the road. And the only reason Rival were able to get away with that purple buff invade is due to their ward vision. One right at the purple buff, so they also see the health bar if Obey Alliance go for it. And then one also to the side of the red.
That's the one that I really like, is the one to the side of the red, because that one is going to show you when and where the mid laner is going with respect to that red buff. Is he in lane? Is he traversing to that buff? Because it's right at that intersection. So you can bide your time and make sure you enter the jungle when the enemy isn't there. So really good heads-up positioning of the ward by Kala's and Vote.
Oh, a little bit of a double taunt there, but not too much follow for Vote. Hold that thought as I say that. Just dive bombs right on in.
Yeah, the damage is big. Ataraxia is going to be stunned out. iRaffer taking some damage as well. But the turnaround thanks to the Artio. An early pick in the draft as well. I love what Taco said with respect to kind of punishing the Athena escape with respect to the Artio, but I don't know. I thought it was very early to see her be picked second.
I think the reasoning is to allow CaptainTwig to go for the Susano pick, not wanting to get hard countered on the flip side. iRaffer, though, gonna get taunted in, holding on to the ricochet, though. Look who's coming around the corner.
Yeah, Wlfy's up here. This is undoubtedly first blood. Vote doesn't even need the assistance of the mid laner. Wlfy showing up just for good measure. Obey able to answer back, although it's 7 seconds too late. First blood goes down to the 3-minute mark, and Obey Alliance answer on the other side of the map just a little bit later.
You gotta shut down the Amaterasu in the early game. Rival were able to secure their own blue buff. Teleport, though, not available for 45 seconds. I still think Deathwalker should be able to get there to pick up that blue buff. But reflecting back on the first blood straight onto iRaffer, he used a lot of cooldowns in terms of looking for the poke. CaptainTwig actually gonna back, but the blue buff did fizzle away. So after the taunt from Calus originally, Vote was holding onto the ricochet and the dive bomb for so long, really wanted to min-max the use of his basic attacks before fully committing with any ability.
And they're right there. Vote showing off his ricochet potential. Pink's coming out as the Odin finds himself in the enemy jungle. CaptainTwig gonna learn about it and give chase. Odin very healthy, both HP and MP wise. Meanwhile, CaptainTwig fresh out of the fountain, certainly going to look good as well.
Looking like a different pathing builds between these two junglers. One is a warrior looking for the glass cannon build by going for potentially Transcendence if he's looking for the physical power build, whereas CaptainTwig is the assassin that's building more bruisery. With the changes to Shifter Shield, that could be the potential course of action, unless he wants the cooldown reduction with Gladiator Shield.
Yeah, you know, this is kind of an interesting one. I definitely would think that those builds were reversed, to be honest with you. But the Transcendence for iceicebaby, like I said, this is one of his kind of go-to characters. I don't think it will be the hi-rez Lament for what it's worth.
I agree.
And this is one of his go-to characters. So it's one of those where I don't believe you should blindly trust what the pros build. Sometimes even the best players in the world are wrong about their build. But this is one of those where I give him the benefit of the doubt in the sense that he is the perennial Odin player when it comes to aggressively in the jungle. And so I think that he's done this before many times. And honestly, I'm just more excited to see what will happen with so much power on the Odin.
I think it's also about maybe looking for the invades. Whenever you have Transcendence, you're basically one-shotting any single buff. So you could take that risky dive bomb to the purple buff, which is something Rival has done the entire game. I don't think Ataraxia or iRaffer is able to confirm a single purple buff on their side.
With that said, Obey Alliance has been in the lead. They're going to come here thanks to PrettyPrime's ultimate from the Janus. Cut down the invade. The purple buff will go their way. Will the team fight, though? There's the defender of Olympus. CaptainTwig still getting the pull. One goes down, and Kala stays alive. Make that two. PrettyPrime.
Twig! He's going to get taken out by the archers. Wlfy still had the aggro, but a 2-for-1 favoring Obey Alliance thus far.
And not only did they get that, but they also dissuaded the invade of their own purple buff. They changed the tune of this game. Deathwalker getting dove under tower. Xaliea is going to get him with the basic. And DW will go back to the library. Nice play there coming out from the short laner, Obey Alliance.
Well calculated out of Xaliea, holding onto his charge just to get out of that tower range. He wasn't really deterred about getting all those tower shots when he had Gladiator Shield near completion. And another thing is when you're in that transformed version of yourself as Chulainn, you get that 5% movement speed of Event Anger, so you're able to effectively dive even better.
So right now I'm looking at this dual lane so far. 0-0 and 2 for Ataraxia, 1-1-1 for Vote, but everybody seems to be about even as far as experience is concerned. But the build in a very different spot. Ataraxia has gone ahead and finished off his boots, now going to be working on the lifesteal gloves, whereas Vote has gone for the raw power and the Transcendence, already stacking it, but has forwent some of the movement speed available to him by boots.
A little bit of that has to come with the fact that Vote was the one with the first blood gold bounty for himself, so you get that little bit of a boost. So yeah, sure, why not? Just go ahead, get the extra power, get a little bit of that cooldown reduction to just straight up look for any competitive edge. You might be able to even burst Ataraxia more than he'll sustain from the Devo gloves.
Certainly something to look at. Deathwalker just zooming around. The Amaterasu, such an interesting character with her auras, I think. Once you get a lot of points in that speed aura, you really are going fast.
Oh yeah, the Divine Presence aura is nothing to scoff at. 25% movement speed at max rank, and then whenever you have the Valor aura, 35 bonus power for not only yourself, but your teammates. It's a very short cooldown too, 9 seconds flat, so you add about 20% cooldown reduction. You're looking at about 7.2 seconds between spamming that.
So far, it's worked out pretty well. Mid lane worked out pretty well. Everything seems to be even, but look at this Chulainn lead for Xaliea. He's creeping ahead in the experience department with 2 levels above his direct opposition. iCeicebaby gonna wander into enemy territory, drop down the ring. CaptainTwig doesn't seem to turn. Now here comes help from the other side as Athena shows up, and Kala's looking to finish what his team started.
No.
Xalia's too slippery, and iCeicebaby too much friction. iRaffer cuts him down.
Just needed one more basic attack, unfortunately. Deathwalker prematurely unleashed his second ability. That mirror could have been held on a little bit longer, get some more burst damage, but I guess, you know, damn if you do, damn if you don't. He assumed that the kill would have happened almost instantly.
And right now, Xaliea is, he's buying dinner for PrettyPriMe tomorrow. That portal, without that portal, Xaliea is a dead man. And all of a sudden, this 1.5 level lead that he has against Deathwalker is negated. So Xaliea certainly I won't say thanking his lucky stars, because there was no luck. That was all skill from PrettyPriMe identifying you're in trouble, here's a ripcord.
And Wlfy missing that ultimate in the Odin cage. iceicebaby tried to do whatever you can to set up, but you have a path blocking ability, and then you also have a slow hold that dog though, because he won't miss that one.
That's a big deal. Wlfy gets in with the power battle heal. But man, I mean, that's the jump, and we're only at Morningstar. We're at the tier 2 of the Transcendence. This Odin is going to delete players even more so a little bit later. And when you combine the burst damage with that of a real mage, well, gotta watch out here. Rival looking for the invades.
That taunt, if that connected, PrettyPriMe was dead to rights. His beads was still on cooldown for about 60 seconds. And that would have been 2 picks that maybe Rival could have forced a Gold Fury or potentially just secured a buff invade. Purple is coming up relatively soon. But at the end of the day, Wlfy needs to rely on Kalas more for the setup. I don't think he should be freely using those ultimates, only if it's an Odin cage. Wait for the Athena taunt instead.
Yeah, the Odin cage can be a little bit scary. Xaliea suffering here a little bit. Knockup is going to take care of 2 separate players. iCeicebaby does have the ultimate. CaptainTwig showing up with the pull. Kala's coming along for the ride. Up, down, 2 Goomba stomps, and Xalia's in trouble. But again, PrettyPriMe comes through with the portal. Doesn't matter. Teammate falls down. Twig and Xaliea eat it a little bit later.
Kalas with a cleanup. He was waiting for Xaliea to go through that portal. He finds the last hit. Beautiful timing from iceicebaby, using the shield half a second, quarter second, a tenth of a second before getting hit by the ultimate from PrettyPriMe.
Yeah, a lovely play coming out from Team Rival in that one, and that's going to actually secure them the gold lead Obey had about a 500, 600 gold lead originally, which was notable only because the enemy had gotten the first blood. Usually when Team A gets the first blood, Team A is ahead by 5 or 1,000 because you take your 500 first blood bounty and then you extrapolate that by your invade, right? Because of the pressure you've gotten off of that first blood. But it's very interesting watching Obey have a 1,000 gold lead when the opponent had the first blood, but that conversation all over as Rival win that team fight on the right side of the map and now look to secure their big gold buff.
iceicebaby going to jump away, but Callus still in there. And I was going to mention how the side lanes were dominant on one side versus the other. Xaliea was controlling the early pacing, but that one death so important to allow Deathwalker back into the game. However, no one from Obey Alliance is really shutting down Vote. He's consistently sitting under Ataraxia's tower, trying to line up that ricochet.
Another team fight here on the right side. Certainly a different speed from our Dignitas game earlier today. 10 kills and we're 12 minutes in. Wlfy trying to make that 11, but we're deadlocked still.
CaptainTwig in a lot of trouble. He gets stunned, throws out the Typhoon in his last dying breath. iRaffer able to get out through the portal. Good job by PrettyPriMe, but Xalia's caught in the cage.
Still stuck in the cage on the Wlfy heel, and down he goes thanks to Deathwalker. Team Rival relatively low, but they do have Ra, so I'm thinking
it's got to be the Goal Fury now if you're a Rival. You got 2 clean picks. CaptainTwig couldn't really survive that one. He only has the blink. That's the risk versus the reward. You want to go for those offensive plays? Well, expect to get controlled to high heavens with all the burst damage from Wlfy.
Obey settling for the consolation prize, but iceicebaby is going to show up with Athena in tow. Iceice cut down to about half HP.
No beats for PrettyPriMe. He used it in the last scuffle, but Rival, the call is to stop chasing because Xalia's up. He has to teleport. You gotta sneak another objective.
And here comes Ra from the sky. Rama. 1 shot, 2 shot. Oh, perfect disengage.
But Obey still steal it somehow. Xaliea was there with a barbed spear. CaptainTwig even from behind could look for the chase down.
You hate to see that because Rival called the stop DPS like a World of Warcraft raid team. It was beautiful. They stopped DPS, the Rom shots came through, and then they were like, all right, our turn, and Xaliea just goes and blows on the objective. It falls over. Meanwhile, left side, CaptainTwig's gonna fall over as Rival notches number 8 onto their bed.
Getting taunted right from behind. Wlfy with a guaranteed searing pain on the level 10. Susano having shifter shields to get himself extra protections is still not enough against this level 13 Ra. That's sitting relatively good at 2-0-3 currently. 14
halfway through. And Obey Alliance are looking up at Team Rival now. 2,000 gold, their junior. Obey is trying to find a way to sort of make sure the game doesn't get away from themselves. And right now, 25, 2,300 down, you're not panicking, but it's certainly a scenario where you say, look, we are not in the lead. How can we change? Xaliea had a lead first, now it's kind of gone. Does that matter? Well, Raffer's going to be the focus, the ultimate coming out from the Hunter after a nice taunt. But Raffer's generally fine until the rest of the team shows up. iceicebaby.
What a cage.
With a beautiful
cage. CaptainTwig trying to force something under the tower. Going to knock up both members. Vote is going to come back because look where iceicebaby and Wlfy are right behind the Goal Fury. But without either of these two soul laners present, I think the team fight will end here.
Just for now. Big proxy coming in from Deathwalker. He was farming in between the Phoenix and the tier 1 tower. Now looking for the mid lane proxy. Finally does see PrettyPriMe show up, so he'll have to walk away from that one.
When you're that far away from your own base to proxy, the enemy can easily collapse on you. But as a level 15 Amaterasu now, Blackthorn's hammer on top of it with plenty of health, going from 350 health up to 450 in the recent patch changes. It's a great addition with the heavy physical protections that you get from Breastplate of Valor. So you're almost baiting out people to make that rotation and hoping that they do so you can make a play happen on the opposite side of the map.
That's exactly how the play went. Just cut and dry there, nice and simple. Rival grouped up here on the left side to a certain extent. iceice backs to base and spreads the map out just a little bit. Callus teaming up with Wlfy and PrettyPriMe just looking for the invade nonetheless. Speed buff is up. Prime is there. Wlfy on the left side. Prime gonna be caught. Oh, he's not.
Does he not? Oh!
Oh, iCeicebaby notices a little bit too late and says, all right, I have a ward here now.
Clearly, after that one. What? Having to use your own sentry ward underneath the imaginary line dissecting the map horizontally is not the ideal selection, especially when Fire Giant is not going to be happening anytime soon. So actually, that's a small win for Obey Alliance.
Here's the left side. Kallis pushing up into the enemy jungle. Not going to find much of anything, just a fishing expedition.
This is why Athena is just so popular. The only reason why Rival have this lead is all the taunts between Kallis setting everyone else up. Sitting at 2, 1, and 5, been a part of 7 of his team's 8 kills. And that's why there's 5 deaths on CaptainTwig. No beads at level 1 means that these taunts are going to be very fruitful.
Yeah, you know, the no beads at level 1 thing has become scarier and scarier. I mean, that's how we started off the league here in Season 5 with everybody buying Blink. But there's a lot of control on the powerful picks these days. And with Athena showing up, I'm not sure how much of a luxury you have for that.
Ataraxia forced to use his purification beads under his own tower line. Deathwalker is happy to take on 3 members because the rest of his team is right here.
Xaliea finds a 3-man knockup, but he might pay for it as the ring is perfect and separates Xaliea from the rest of the squad. Vote with 2 kills, and Kallis picks up a 3rd. That's going to be 3 for the duo lane. Rob's in the air to fire off some blind shots, Toli, but Rival do the damn thing. 3 players down. Gold Cherry's about to spawn right about now, but it looks like Rival aren't even aiming for the truck. They're going for the Fire Giant.
Why not when you have this much of a window? 10 seconds for iRaffer, 10 for CaptainTwig, 20 for Xaliea. You got the burst damage. You don't have the searing pain, but you don't have to worry about through space and time either from PrettyPriMe. That's where the key element comes into consideration. If you have a mage ultimate, that's a go. If the enemy mage doesn't have an ultimate, that's also going to be a go. And going back to that last team fight, a beautiful position for Deathwalker. Hovering around, baiting so many cooldowns, allows iCeicebaby to catch 3 members into that ring. I think the Phantom might have been on cooldown for iRaffer, so he couldn't really use it when he needed it desperately. And on top of that, despite Wlfy not hitting that ultimate off of just the Odin cage, it was Vote's ultimate doing the dirty work.
Man, what a sequence, realistically, is what I want to say. Because there was so many different plays that really coalesced to create that moment that we just saw. Team Rival now only leading by about 5,000, but the dominance feels like so much more than that.
It does. I have to agree with you. I think a lot of it has to come down with just the sheer engages. iRaffer hasn't really been able to set up his team the same way Kallis is, and that's not simply because, you know, Kallis is a better player or iRaffer is worse or whatnot. It's just simply the telltale of the gods selection. Athena is just cookie cutter. You dash, you taunt, and there you go. But the way you deal with Athena is you got to burst her down. You got to prevent the taunt, or you just blow her up. And looking at the composition from Obey Alliance, you don't have your Mirs, your Sylvanuses for the Wrath of Terror, or anything like that to burst them down. Maybe even a Nemesis wouldn't have been a bad idea to instantly use the Divine Judgment and shred Kallis.
Nemesis, quite an interesting character. I wouldn't mind it. I do like me some Nemesis. Problem with Nemesis thus far in Season 5, I think, has been the prevalence of sprint, really kind of cutting down her kit is slow-centric, right? So might suffer a little bit in that department. Team Rival slowly pushing up on the Tier 2 tower, which they've gotten down to about half HP. CaptainTwig lurking behind the rest, and here comes the ultimate. PrettyPriMe gonna cut him down right down the middle. iRaffer stunned out. There's a nice ring, but Vote's gonna fall down to the hands of CaptainTwig. And CaptainTwig will get right on out thanks to another great portal from PrettyPriMe.
What a play from Obey Alliance, but they're not out of the woods yet. Xaliea too far away from his tower to find any shelter. Still holding on to the Tier 2 for a moment. Kallis is going to back. He still has Defender of Olympus. Wlfy with Searing Pain, so waiting for that dash taunt combination. What are the beats situation? A lot of beats for Twig, PrettyPriMe, and Ataraxia, but if you catch out iRaffer, he might be gone.
There's the ultimate from Wlfy. Not going to find a home on anybody just yet. iRaffer cut down to about 20% HP. Team Rival now biding their time, going to heal back on up. iRaffer going to be backing up to the back. And now Ataraxia trying to see what he can do in the base. PrettyPriMe going to see what he can do out of the base.
I want to touch on that play that CaptainTwig did earlier. He was looking for that flank, which every jungle assassin should do. But the way he played it, he jet streamed to the side, knowing he was going to disengage there. So what does he do? He
saved it.
He jet streams, saves it, blinks in, uses the Typhoon, goes to his jet stream, pops the Typhoon, knocking everyone back up. And then as they're disengaging, CaptainTwig is still behind everyone, so he can easily look for the Storm Kata, the Wind Siphon, a lot of burst damage, a beautiful engage from CaptainTwig, which allowed them for the initial kill, but unfortunately Xaliea was just too far out of position.
22-minute pause here as we get a little bit into the nitty-gritty of that CaptainTwig play. You know, it's interesting. Kind of a page, excuse me, out of Frostyak's book.
Yes.
Right? Frostyak kind of originated this, if you will. But Tolly, why don't you break this down one more time?
This is beautiful because he knows he has to disengage after the blink anyway. So he creates all this chaos and havoc, confusion in the backline with the knockup. He's like, where's CaptainTwig? Where's CaptainTwig? And then the beautiful Phantom from iRaffer identifying that without that Phantom, CaptainTwig couldn't reach the portal from PrettyPriMe. Obey clicking on all cylinders in that team fight. It's just so unfortunate that Xaliea couldn't do the same escape.
Yeah, I did really enjoy that play. We're going to get back into the live game in just a moment, but CaptainTwig really making it happen here in this game. No surprise there, I suppose. CaptainTwig has generally looked good. Let's see how good he can continue to look as we jump right on back into game here. Vote, the only one on Team Rival without a Fire Giant buff. But does it matter, is the question. 10,000 gold in the lead, 2 levels above his Welsh counterpart there, Ataraxia. So I don't know.
Because of that play from CaptainTwig, I think he just saved his own Phoenix. Trading 1 for 1, you trade out your Soul Laner for the enemy Hunter. There's no real structure damage to follow suit, so a worthy sacrifice at the end of the day. Fire Giant respawning in about less than a minute, but should still give Rival an opportunity for the tier 2 in the solo lane.
Absolutely. They're going to go right for it, take care of that one, and maybe even look towards the Phoenix, honestly, Tolly. I mean, this is, when you have a 10,000 gold lead, you want to demand the opposition to fight you, right?
Yeah, and I think that Obey wanted to go for that tier 2 tower, but they just don't have the time. They must defend this Phoenix. They don't want to deal with any fire minions.
There's the taunt in, and I think we'll see 1 or 2 attempts at this, and then a fallback to the Fire Giant if it doesn't go Team Rival's direction. Obey, on the other hand, I would like to see Obey kind of play a little bit aggressive here because of that looming threat of the Fire Giant. This is just going to get worse if Obey sit on their hands.
It's very true. I think that they need to look for some opportunity, but it has to come from a Hail Mary play from PrettyPriMe, clipping multiple members through space and time. He's not really standing over any ward, so now would be a time to use it.
Xaliea is not the game leader that he was earlier in the match, but I think he still certainly has the potential to kind of mess with Team Rival. Rival decided to walk away from the Phoenix, now is going to look for the Okie Doke. Expecting Obey to follow them to the Fire Giant. iRaffer gets cut down to about half HP.
Oh, there goes the cage already. Phantom not even going to save iRaffer. A 5-on-4. Just a little too far out of position. Great ambush from Rival.
Right heel on the ground to allow Team Rival to heal up just a little bit. Xaliea tried to do what he could there, Tolly, but was just surrounded and pounded. Nothing he could really do to stop the onslaught of damage coming out of Team Rival.
That's true. Once you get taunted, if you don't prevent it with your ultimate for the CC immunity, you're dead to rights. It took a while to kill iRaffer, but at the end of the day, well-worthy investment, opening the door to the Phoenix on the right side and then the window for the Fire Giant.
And here it is, 25% undoubtedly going to go to Obey or Rival because Obey are doing the gold Shiri. They understood that they wouldn't be able to fight head on, so they walked away to the other objective. I do like that call, totally better than sitting in base and doing nothing. But even with this Gold Fury, this is an uphill battle for David and Obey Alliance to really look for.
Oh yeah, when you're sitting at about 4 to 4.5 items, dealing with about 5, nearing 6 fully completed, and you've got a Talisman of Energy from Deathwalker trying to close out the game. Rival recognized they don't want to wait any longer. This is their time to close out game number 1.
Yeah, these guys are just looking for it, looking for the victory. Love the build coming out from Deathwalker here. Not just the Talisman of Energy, but the Blackthorn Hammer as well. An interesting item we don't see too much of, in my opinion.
I agree. I think that with the recent changes, it's just such a cheap item. In North America, Divios heavily prefers it. He actually ran it yesterday, I believe, when he was playing both the Nemesis and the Ratatasker. And when you're trying to be a big, beefy tanker, this is the most cost-effective health that you're going to get, honestly, because of also getting a little bit of cooldown reduction when you're over 50% mana, and then the MP5, once you're under 50%, trying to help you get back up to that cooldown reduction. And on top of that, you got the Talisman of Energy to close out the game, get that extra movement speed, attack speed, and then Emperor's Armor from Callus to limit some of the DPS of the Phoenix.
Well, Team Rival going to look for that Phoenix right now. iRaffer here in the middle of everything, blinking forward as CaptainTwig in a perfect ring from iceicebaby to answer in kind. Vote taking some damage, able to heal up thanks to his mid lane mage. Here comes iceicebaby with the defensive jump. There's Collins with a beautiful taunt into Vote's Sons, and Ataraxia gonna sit this one out for the next 50 seconds.
Didn't have beads for another 130 seconds. He used it about 20 seconds ago, a clean pick, despite CaptainTwig doing another fancy engage, the same way he did around that tier 1 tower that was gone. Hold that thought, though. Dash taunt, immediately CaptainTwig forced to retreat.
Can't confirm the kill, but CaptainTwig will have to walk to the base. iRaffer will be dead. Xaliea is going to be next. There goes PrettyPriMe through the portal, able to wiggle on out totally. Nice play there for the mid lane mage till Ice blinks forward and gets the spin to win.
Taunt onto CaptainTwig. He needs to get out. He already jet streamed before the cage, so he's able to take that one right through, but a lonely Susano cannot defend this Titan.
Not at all. Down it goes. 19-6. And Obey Alliance will watch as Team Rival take this one to the winners column.
What a play, honestly. And Wlfy's Ra cannot be denied. Just so much damage. And he plays it so safely in the backline. I think that when you're dealing with that kind of presence from the backline, you need to find ways to penetrate it. Build a composition around shutting it down, because that late game long range damage, you can't deal with it.
You really can't. Wlfy was high in the tower damage as well. I got a glimpse of when we switched over to the numbers view. Tower damage, player damage, healing. I mean, Wlfy was the man doing all of the chores here in this matchup. Really fun to watch when he brings out the classic Ra. But you know what? I mean, you want to talk about, those are all the things that hit the scoreboard. The man that was playing for my heart was the Odin player. I mean, watching Ice nail everything, the rings in these perfect positions to cut off the Janus portals. I mean, so impressive.
The one specifically behind the Gold Fury is the one that I noticed the most. And I think that it was PrettyPriMe and also CaptainTwig trying to assist their dual lane. And Vote had a lot of pressure in that dual lane after the first blood.
Very impressive stuff, whether it's iceeicebaby, Wlfy bringing the numbers, or the rest of the team bringing the everything else. Who was the MVP of that match? Let us know and make sure chat right now. And usually, like I said, it's cut and dry. I don't think it was so cut and dry here. I think Wlfy might get a number of those votes, and I'd be proud, but I'm going a different way. That's going to be game number 1. Let's dive into the numbers. It's Finch, and it's Taco on the desk.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Toli. It is indeed Finch and Taco here as Rival come out with that Game 1 victory. Perhaps a little bit expected, but they did it so cleanly. They all played so well. For me, it was kind of Wlfy's performance that stood out, but I mean, what was it that you saw as you were watching that really stood out to you?
Things didn't seem as clear-cut, actually, at the start, I felt, but then Rival seemed to really find their groove with this Odin pick. I mean, we brought it up and we addressed it before the start of the match. It felt like the execution on Rival's half was significantly easier to handle as opposed to that of Obey Alliance. Just too many different working cogs going on at the same time, I think, to fully function as one whole unit. And it felt like it was way too easy for Rival to consistently keep members of Obey grouped up within those cages.
And it started off early for me with Vote and Collis. Their sort of synergy was so strong, right? The Athena taunts, Vote was right there with the damage, whether it was the ult, the ricochet, he was always nailing it. But throughout the game, when he continued to perform well, had to be Collis. details on that Athena, and it sounds like Mixer Chat also felt the same way, naming him as their MVP. The defender of Olympus is to save, the great rotations, just a strong performance all around.
I think there's a handful of players in Europe that you automatically think of whenever Athena comes to mind. And
absolutely.
Collis is certainly one of them, Cherio being the only other one, but pros will always tell you never let either of those two have Athena, because bad things will happen to your team, and that is exactly the situation Obey Alliance ended up in, because every single opportunity was just squandered right away. The moment that Athena came into play, Defender of Olympus for the damage mitigation really stopped Susano from being able to maneuver around the backline as freely as he would have liked. The non-stop taunts, it was just a non-stop barrage, it felt, of abilities coming every which direction.